Hello everyone, my name is Notepad Anon and I write games for fun. So what are we doing today? Well, today we're going to be going over nothing. Yeah, nothing. Truth be told, there isn't actually that much here. Today I was just going to do a thunk stream, a big thunk stream in particular. A particular one of me just going over a few ideas. Thinking and concepts that weren't going anywhere really, so I just want to sit down and think about them a little bit. Most notably, because I was originally going to do Pocket Quest stream today. Then I did that yesterday. I'm like, I don't want to do a Pocket Quest stream again. That sounds awful. So also, thank you, Any the Cat, and Criblegs. That person from my server who did cogs. What does the 5e release schedule have to do with anything? Nothing that I know of. Do I have a 5e release schedule open somewhere? Oh, jeez. Yeah, no, there's a reason why we're so hilariously late at night. There's three reasons. One, my friend today decided to like appear and being like, hey, do you want to re-download Monster Hunter World? And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, you better should do it. And I'm like, all right. So I played Monster Hunter World with him for like 3 hours. I'm like, cool. And I made dinner and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go use the bathroom and then stream. Then my toilet stopped working. Again. Welcome to Notepad's plumbing stream. I don't know what's going on with my poor toilet here, but it doesn't fill with water for some reason. I think it has something to do with the pipes. It's a very old building I'm in currently, and I think there's a pipe issue. Sometimes it fixes itself. Sometimes it doesn't. I don't know why. It just works. That's all you gotta know. It just works. So currently it's in the it's not working phase, so I get to sit on it and hopefully it fixes itself later. If not, well, I am, as they say, shit out of luck. Your old apartment didn't suffer the same fate with the toilet. No, it was so, like, the plumbing was so clogged there, and I learned later on that it was clogged because there was just like everything used the same plumbing system, and if it was like one place was clogged somewhere, everything would get clogged elsewhere. It was a mess. Here, it's just the plumbing is very old. I think that's the issue, and it's just if one thing goes wrong, everything starts going wrong. Like my dishwasher didn't work for a while until I like kicked it a few times. I think it's the same thing, and it's like, worst comes to worst, I will literally call the guy out here again and tell him to fuck off. Plumbing ASMR stream when plumbing ASMR stream will just be me in the distance saying, fuck, shit, damn it. Like, why won't you work? And then it's dead silence. Me hitting the fucking handle every now and again. And then me coming back out, me thinking, swearing some more, then going back in. That's all it would be. I've always said that I will do an ASMR channel. If I ever do get big, I'm going to do an ASMR channel, and all it will be is vaguely uncomfortable situations nobody wants to talk about ASMR. Big, just like, your friend is incredibly drunk in the other room ranting about anti-Semitic theories. You don't want to intervene. What do you ASMR? Or, hey, someone's taking a shower in your house, but you didn't invite anybody in, and you don't know who it is, so you're kind of just a little bit worried about it. That's the kind of ASMR I would want to do. Cursed ASMR, as I call it. Yes, this is a thonk stream inspired by a few conversations yesterday. There were a few talks today and yesterday. Greatest comedian of our time. God, what do you people clip? That's all you gotta know. It just works. So currently it's in the it's not working phase, so I get to sit on it and hopefully it fixes itself later. If not, well, I am, as they say, shit out of luck. Yeah. do that exactly, but with old relaxing oldies in the background. No, I have to save relaxing oldies for like old man talks to you in bar even though you don't want to listen. That's the kind of ASMR we need. But yes, as a thunk stream, this is literally a let's just kind of think about some things, again, this rambling ideas. I did end up incorporating the Avatar Legends thing into Sanguine Nights and Terrible Curses. I've got a majority of what I need for this done. It's right now we are in what I like to refer to as the oh fuck phase. I just need to sit down, probably tomorrow, hammer out everything that needs hammering out, and be done with it. I realized I am so vastly intelligent, so much of a fantastic writer. I kept using the exact same fictional agency name for this, the Federal Bureau of Midnight Affairs. I kept using that one. I've already used that before, so I can't use it for this one. So it's like, well, shit. So here's our other from the last big thunk stream, as you can see. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, but with dice. Oh no, we have to skateboard to do something. Yeah, this is dumb. I have a few different ideas for like what we would want to do for a got some more beat and Russian. I think late night streams just my justification to live to like listen to Russian doomer music. That's literally all it is at the end of the day. But yeah, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater with dice. The Magical Girl one, I'm going to think about this one a little bit more. I have some ideas there. Literally nothing on the Annual RPG. The Project Noya, it's there. I don't know what to do with it. Solo war games. I have the game for the solo war game. The game. I don't know how to do it. I need to research more into it. Headspace. No one will ever select Headspace. ASMR mail. Your game designer friend quietly sobs after kicking household applaud. It's not safe for work. 18+. I do it. But no, Pat. It's all a connected universe. They got interdimensional portals, some shit like that. It's if they were not. The thing is, if it wasn't a very specific term, I would do that. But the Federal Bureau of Midnight Affairs actually came from Omega Men here, and Omega Men is strictly all about that, like hunting down these things. So it's, if I were to do it, it would have to be part of the, and I do quote this very nicely, the expanded Notepad game design universe TM. Which, mind you, the expanded Notepad game design universe TM does already have things like Lazarium in it. I have used Lazarium in so many goddamn things, to the point where I try to put it in randomly every now and again, but yeah, Lazarium is usually put in there. But yeah, the fact that it's in this one that I'm a little bit, that's why I was thinking about just adding it to another organization name. Which I actually do enjoy this, and I still actually would really like people to give me some more ideas here, because this is like one of my favorite little world building things that I actually really enjoyed, and people seem to like it. But yeah, Omega Men was weird, so I need to think about some other details with that one just to make it work smoothly. Hypnospace Outlaw. What the fuck is Hypnospace Outlaw? Sounds like a fucking porno. I hope you know. Oh, that's just vaporwave. This is vaporwave bullshit, isn't it? I mean, most likely you could do something with it. Yeah, I don't know about this one. Chief. I'm kind of scared. Moby Games. Why does that sound familiar? Moby Games. Why does that sound so familiar? No More Robots franchise. Huh. Ah, weird. That name sounded really familiar for some reason. So I'm like, that has to be something. No, it wasn't. Notepad's Universal Guiding Game System, Nugs. God, that's curse. That's absolutely curse. I'm gonna have to remember that one, Ethical. Thank you for that. But yes, this is kind of a thinking stream. Now, there's three thinking bits that I want to think about today, and people, this is literally inspired by three completely separate conversations that were just came up. When it was the Disco Elysium RPG, which I did actually do some work on that. Literally I hope you all know that a chunk of this is going to be me going through TG archives trying to find what I wrote down, because it was a damn good idea and I can't remember it. One was the Yandere simulator game TM. Yeah, that one, that was a conversation that happened the other day about Yandere Dev, which Yandere Dev is a hilarious human being and deserves all credit to him. All God bless him. God bless him. What's the other one? What was the other one I saw today that I was like, this is vaguely interesting? Was I thinking about something else entirely? This is what happens when you're just incredibly tired. You just start thinking about it. No, technically it was about the Magical Girl game. Actually, no, I know. I was talking with my friends about it which was the Bara shitpost superhero game. Literally, this is just the current name for it. I don't have a name for it, but this is what it's called, the Bara shitpost MMO. Well, superhero game. Yeah, cool. First things first, I want to talk about 100 Lotus Blades. 100 Lotus Blades has fan compact hunter visual which appeared in more console, basically insurance company for the occult and paranormal. Yeah, mind you, that is a significant part of what how the Omega Men was supposed to be kind of structured around, is shit like that. How great if you finish a Yandere sim before a Yandere Dev. That bring unto me the Coom Chalice. Yes. 100 Lotus Blades is actually technically, I think the best term for it would be a wuxia game. With this big martial arts bullshit taken to 11. However, I got more inspired to do 100 Lotus Blades because of if you all watch my hip videos, which you totally should. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, subscribe to YouTube/NotepadAnon. Please, I'm desperate for attention. Was actually inspired by our Flying Swordsman game in particular. It was pretty much, if you look at all the pretty much everybody who's a unfortunate soul, bar the absent wielder of the bad hammer, all of them were part of this Flying Swordsman game, and we all got very frustrated by it. So I actually talked to all of them, and the 100 Lotus Blades, the entire idea would be more like a, how do I want to do it? Sorcerer, pretty much sword and sword, pretty much the best way to think about it would be a sword and sorcery wuxia RPG. That'd be kind of the idea. It's kind of more a little bit, we'll do a bit more silly than serious. With we'll call it a helping of anime, because pretty much my friend who ran it, Sedwak, actually, from the server, I have a few ideas on that one, but my Sedwak from the server, he ran a game called from the Secrets of Zoram Dag. Let me, if I can, I'm gonna bring up. I'm gonna remove some things here real fast. Wait, do I put my name down here anywhere? No, cool. As you can see, this is our this is how this was Tarek Sultan by the end of the game. I hit level 10. We hit level 10 in that game. This was my character. This is who I played. I played a thief. Hence why I have like a larger section of thief about that particular game of video. You have all my stupid special abilities, all my items that some of these were very useful, other of them were not very. One of the things about his particular setting was that it was very how do I want to say this? A little bit gonzo. There's a lot of different things that we would say would be like, that's anachronism, or that doesn't quite make sense. That it kind of just worked in his game over time, even down to the fact that everybody in the supposedly Chinese town had things like Chase McMahon. Like, for your vampire glowing game, why not make it them the League Against Beasts invading America? Because the entire joke behind that particular, behind Songwood Knights, is that it is... The entire joke behind Songwood Knights is that vampires and all that are completely boring. It's been 40 years since they've been discovered, and everybody's kind of just done with it. Be like, yeah, that was fun while it lasted. I know, that would be a good band name though. But yeah, giving it OSR. What's your general opinion on the OSR little title scene? OSR is fascinating for a variety of reasons, and I think one of the main reasons why OSR is so interesting to me is that you have a very simple core foundation that people like to iterate upon, and I think OSR has like one distinct issue. I kind of call this what was that one game I played a lot? I can see it right now. I'm having a fucking stroke right now. Effectively, it's the Half-Life 2 modding issue, where you have a very simple base and people can do a lot with it, but the problem is you're going to end up primarily with 3 camps. You're going to end up with things that are actually genuinely good but feel vaguely similar. You're going to end up with games that actually push what's there to its absolute limits, even if it doesn't necessarily work. And the absolute worst variety, the absolute scary ones, are the ones who claim to be it, but it is not. G-String is a good example of that. Hello, Solid. One of the big things with OSR, I feel, that's kind of a major issue, is that people like to play it safe, and people know what makes money. So people are playing it safe to make money. And people also want to hop on the OSR scene to get something out of it sometimes. Where people will make like, oh yeah, this is my cool new OSR dungeon crawler, being like, this isn't OSR though. Like, you know it, I know it, everyone knows it. But it's just one of those things that people want to hop on. It makes money, and trust me, people say like, oh, I'm an indie dev or anything, being like, bitch, you write OSR, being like don't. OSR is kind of its own camp. To me, making an OSR, I'm not interested in that kind of gameplay. Never have been. I like the ideas behind it, but usually it just doesn't really appeal to me all that much. That's why I was a little bit apprehensive at first running this, but I'm like, I had fun because it was my friends playing it. I was with my friends. I think that was a big thing. The closest thing to an OSR I have is the Fear and Hunger game. So we want to do, generally speaking, we want to keep the Notepad D. We're going to use the Notepad D20 system because that has the momentum mechanics in it. The big things about this, though, the complicated thing about 100 Lotus Blades to always remember is that it has to have magic, shamanism, thievery, and fighters being relatively balanced. Because that was one thing we noticed with Flying Swordsman, which was kind of a big issue there, which was that it was very unbalanced in a way. Everyone wanted to be a fighter. So my thinking behind this is kind of just to lean into what we... Oh, Jesus, no, go away. Lean into what we noticed over time, which was everyone is a fighter. Everyone is a fighter, but with a gimmick. You know, it's just like, oh, I am a kung fu master. However, I also have, you know, I have magic, or I'm a kung fu master. I'm also a shaman, or something like that. It's kind of the basic idea behind it. I have the setting already. Well, I'm just going to continue my friend's setting, which we learned very late on in the campaign, which was a giant fucking Power Rangers reference. Everything was a Power Ranger reference. And we nearly killed our GM. I nearly killed my best friend over it being a damn near a year-long campaign of being a fucking Power Ranger reference. I nearly murdered that man. Is OSR just cope and paste from AD&D? Well, that I know what you're trying to say, but a bit. One of the ideas behind OSR is that it's taking the themes and concepts of older school D&D, which was like, people like to think like, oh, D&D was like always been fairly complicated. D&D back in like even the AD&D and the original, like kind of the what we would consider like original D&D, and then into even second edition. I played second edition quite a bit. I played second edition quite a bit. Because that's what my friend's homebrew is based off of, which I need to get that game off of him one day. Which is, it's not, again, not necessarily copy-paste. I think one of the, when I mean by, like, it's trying to take the theme, like, those old games were actually very simple. Like, the old D&D games are not actually very complicated. That's why there's actually, because people are like, oh, AD&D, but there was also basic D&D. Way back in the day, there was just the basic edition, which the basic set was actually very popular. I mean, if I can remember, what was the D&D timeline? Like D&D timeline. What was the exact? Yeah, okay, here we go. I think this is a good way of looking at it. It's, you know, you have all of this, then moved into basic D&D, which was the red box, then moved into Rules Cyclopedia, and finally moved into third edition. The complication for rules really started around here. Advanced D&D second edition revised. Mostly because these two added a lot more rules and a lot more concepts to really reinforce a very certain kind of idea. It was, you were going to go on an adventure for seasoned adventurers. This is you could say this is the hard mode of D&D back in the day. And it was like, well, why would you ever want a hard mode? It's because you want more detail, you want more exciting, you want something bigger. I primarily played this, Advanced D&D 2nd Edition Revised. That is what I play primarily, and it's about as old as I am. Though, again, when people talk about OSR stuff, they mostly are talking about this. Usually it's the basic D&D. Sometimes people go even further to go like right here to Rule Cyclopedia. The big thing, though, was in 2000, 3rd edition happened, which has more in common with AD&D than basic D&D, but it kind of homogenized the sets together, you could say. And then obviously we have 5th edition here, but this is a very old picture. Yeah, no, it's That's like one of the big things of those older systems. But in like OSR games in general, is that they're trying to emulate a very certain feeling, a very certain idea, because all the rules and all the concepts are already there. It's just like, let's expand upon it. And then you get things like Lamentations of the Flame Princess. Lamentations of the Flame Princess is a very good game. And people hate it when I say that, but Lamentations is very good because it's using a very solid foundation and adding some things to it and clarifying some bits. That's all really what Lamentations did. Lamentations is not an original product, not at all. It's just a refinement of something that was already decent, that was already pretty good. There's a refinement of it and giving it a different coat of paint. The thing is this though, if you were to take Lamentations of the Flame Princess and call it you would call it here's what we'll do, Legacy of the Flame King or something. And you had like a basic hero man standing out there with a sword in one hand fighting a goblin or whatever. Not a single fucking person would have looked at it. Not a single person. It would have gone down as like one of those early OSR games. However, Lamentations and Turn Raggy and people like that went for a very particular style and went for a very particular look to things. And that was popular. That was really popular. It resonated with people and that's what people really think D&D is, or that older school D&D was I've even coined the term mud and blood. And you know, the worst thing from Flame Princess are the snares that sound like Magical Realm stuff, because that's what people expect. That's like one of the big things. And like that was like one of the big things with it, was that it was, I think the best way to even compare it is like nobody gives a shit about the nice man handing out flyers on the street corner talking about Jesus. People are going to listen to the guy shouting at the top of his lungs with a tambourine in one hand and a doomsaying sign on the other, screaming that the end of the world is nigh. Flame Princess is the doomsaying crazy person on the corner. And people are going to listen to them, and people are going to look at it, and it's going to stick with people a little bit more. And I think that's what kind of made it work as much as it did. I think that was like one of the big things. The fact that it worked as much as it did boil down to, hey, we look weird, we sound weird, we understand what this is, and people loved it. And that's why you see a lot of OSR games look very edgy, and things kind of push the back. The reason why Morkborg exists is not because Morkborg is this, like, oh my goodness, it's such an art piece, it's so amazing. No, Morkborg exists because that's what people have just made OSR over the years. This has been like, I would say the OSR adventure, the OSR adventure has been about a decade and a half. About a decade and a half of work. I think the OSR scene kind of blew up about 15 years ago. But mind you, over that time, things have split. I think the OSR community of a decade ago is very different from the OSR community of today, because right now I would say there's about 3 camps of OSR. You have the main camp. The purists are the ones who are still running their BX games and are still running their homebrew rules and blogs and shit. Like, those are the ones that have been here forever and will continue to be, these guys. That's like a big thing for them. Then you have the more radicals, that's where you have, I think the radicals are the ones who kind of push the boundaries a little bit, but they have their own infighting about what's the golden path in that regard. To a degree, they're ethical explosives. I can talk us a little bit about that. I think the third camp are the riding the coattails of OSR. Guys who are like, yes, we are an OSR game, winks to camera. and Morkborg is in that camp. They aren't, but they can definitely they can look the part and talk the talk, and that's all you really need at the end of the day. Things like, again, and right now 4E was an interesting time, kind of that, that 4E era. That 4E era, because 4E was like incredibly unpopular because it changed things a lot. But like one of the problems was with 4E at the end of the day was, outside the math being a lot wonky and it kind of being a little bit ahead of its time tech-wise, and it said to a lot of people, like, because D&D 4E was exactly what people wanted. That was the issue. It's exactly what people wanted. And people hated that. People despised that. And it's funny. That's why I say you never listen to people. Only if 5e is not scub for any one community. I get what you mean by the scub. I think the thing with 5e is that 5e has been sanitized to be perfectly inoffensive to everybody. You can make 5e work to do just about anything you want it to do, and it's gonna do it. You want to run a fantasy game, it's gonna run a fucking fantasy game. And people have tried to adapt it to fucking everything. And Wizards doesn't really want you to not do it. But I don't think people really... How do I want to word this? If you really read D&D 5e, there's a lot of shit in that game. There's a lot of weird shit in that game that you don't talk about at all. And you don't talk about all the little rules. And that's why Wuso actually has been losing his mind over D&D Next. Simply because it has such a bizarre part of the history of D&D 5th edition. My opinion on D&D 5th edition will always be it is a perfectly serviceable game. And people hate me when I say that because I'm supposed to be the the proponent of indie and all that jazz. But like, D&D at the end of the day, if you really look at it, it does every single thing it sets out to do. It says you want to play a generic fantasy. I've been thinking about a term to call it. I've called it class fantasy, is the closest thing I could really think about it. But the most generic fantasy TM adventure available. You're going to get it with 5th edition. You're going to sit down and you're going to do it. 5e is game design McDonald's. To a degree, yeah, I would say that it's game design McDonald's. It's fine. You can go to McDonald's and you're going to be able to get a cheeseburger and you're going to and it's going to be good. Going to be good. You're going to sit there and it's going to be you're going to eat it and you're going to like it and it's going to be, you're just going to sit there and you're going to regret it in like 2-3 hours, and then you're going to leave and it's going to be like, okay, it's McDonald's. That's all it is. That's the big thing about 5th edition. It's very accessible, very easy. Everyone kind of gets it. D&D actually is very easy to teach. It relies a lot on the GM though. That's what's always been like a big thing about it. And that's why I'm like, if you really notice, I don't like games that like rely super heavily on it or not. Yeah, class fantasy, it's like one of the big things with D&D. Here's what we can do. We can, since we're talking about it, so much, I may as well put a little. Like one of the big things with like 5e in general is that actually we'll call it D&D quote fantasy. And why I call it class fantasy, because at the end of the day, it's ultimately a fantasy of playing a role, not necessarily role playing, but playing a role. It's like I am mighty warrior, I am wizard, I am cleric. And it's like the entire world is built on that logic of playing a role. It's just like you are the drag. It's kind of like you are the you are the dragon. You are meant to be in the dungeon. That's why it's like, even if you really like play some D&D games, like the game assumes that you're going to go into a dungeon at some time. And even if like, oh, it's not like a dungeon, it's a sewer. It doesn't matter. It's like you have a role to play. It's just like, it's hard to call it just strict fantasy, because when you say fantasy to me, I have a very specific idea in my mind, which is things something like Lord of the Rings, something even down to things like Exalted. I consider Exalted more fantasy than D&D, because Exalted is this big high-flying adventure. It has its own issues. Honestly, though honestly speaking, though this is the, this is Notepad's Dungeons and Dragons. There we go. If this is welcome to Notepad Loses His Fucking Mind, the musical. Let's see. And then we do this. This is gonna be fucking heretical. However, honestly, I would just make it like Sword World. That's the, if you really want. There we go. That's Notepad's D&D right there. Let's see. It's a old school D&D fits kitchen sink much better than modern stuff, because back then you were expected to run an alien spaceship with giant dwarf frog aliens. Kitchen sink fantasy. I remember when I was teaching a friend of mine. Oh, the exception's not the rule. Not really, it's just I want everything. Decisive Chads. Saturday morning cartoon fantasy. I get what he means by Saturday morning cartoon fantasy, though. Kind of that very safe, very play by the rules, and it's, yes, let us go, Thorngar the warrior. Yes, of course. Billy Bob the warrior, I completely fucking lost this analogy. It's fucking past midnight. My brain is on fire. Billy the wizard, ha ha ha. Kind of like that, playing it very safe in its own way. But this was another conversation that popped up in the server that quite a bit, which is people have this really weird idea of what fantasy, like what D&D is anymore. Because you have things like, you have this concept that D&D is the story game in which you go on epic adventures together, and you have other people who like stamp their fate and say, no, it's a mud and blood dungeon crawler of tactical combat. And there's a reason people are trying to sell fucking D&D modules, like zero combat D&D modules. Like, well, let me see. It was the zero combat D&D module. Non-combat adventures for low fantasy. Yeah, it's people have like talked about it being like, it's like I want to run a no combat one. It's like, my brother in Christ, D&D is all about combat, and like trying to escape that fact is what leads to sadness. And at the end of the day, I dislike D&D not because of what it is. I dislike D&D because what people have done to it. Which, so they're trying to, yeah. I think that's one of the quintessential sadnesses of modern D&D is D&D has morphed into a into a, how, I don't want to say this, like a cultural touch point rather than a game. And people are trying their best to make it a cultural touch point. And that's why it's like Stranger Things. Like, I remember my mom started watching Stranger Things recently, and she even said, be like, oh, you know about all the D&D stuff, I need you to tell me about it because I don't understand it. And I'm like, well, fuck me, I guess. Like, I guess I'm going to have to like try to explain to her like what Vecna is, because like honestly I don't know many, like I think people would understand like who Vecna is, but it's like, let's Google Vecna real fast. Yeah, Vecna from Stranger Things is the first thing that pops up. Yeah, that's kind of weird when you think about it. That like the Stranger Things wiki, the Stranger Things version of Vecna is technically before Vecna proper. Like, here's Vecna. And like the Demi Gorgon, is that what it's called? Like, here's the Demi Gorgon. You wanna look at that? This one's in hit. That is a penis, everybody. That is a penis. And we're gonna click off. Yep. Twitch, don't ban me, please. I didn't realize what it was. Do you think D&D will ever burn out, or will just keep being the monolith it is? Well, you can tell. Well, answer your question, McDrusel, is very simple. In 2 years, during 2024, we will see if D&D 5.5 edition wins or loses. If 5.5 comes out and it crashes, and I mean bad crashes, we'll have another 4E situation. We'll have another moment. We'll have another moment where things changed. Because, like, I would say, because if you really want like the two eras where things kind of happen, I would say like the mid 90s and the mid 90s and like late 2000s. During these two times, we underwent a very special time. Like in the mid 90s, we had games like Vampire the Masquerade, we have Shadowrun, we had all these games that have always been there, but D&D was not doing very well. Like, for a few years there, Vampire the Masquerade was the best-selling tabletop role-playing game. It was the top of the world. Shadowrun did really damn good for itself, and it was top tier shit. You know, you had play games like West End Games. You had a lot of these companies do very well, and that was a very good thing. People really enjoyed that. That was like a big idea. However, this is where things get a little bit wonky, which is nobody could really capitalize on it as well. And a lot of those companies went under for various reasons. Some of them because they tried to overcapitalize on the fact that there wasn't really a moment that you could... Why do you do this, Draco? No, please. The fact that my train of thought's gone now. I think a lot of companies went under during that time because they were trying to capitalize off of it and they just couldn't because nobody was buying. in the late 2000s, you had 4E come out. When 4E came out, you have the biggest issue, which is nobody wanted to play anything. Nobody wanted to buy 4E, and people bought it obviously, but people weren't playing that. And that's when you actually saw a lot of different games pop up. Because if you really look at it in the kind of that late 2000s era, you got games like Savage Worlds. You ended up with kind of the new brand of World of Darkness coming out quite a bit. That's when they really kind of hit it. So that's when the Chronicles of Darkness really hit its stride. You had so many different games come out during that time, and that's what kicked off the old school renaissance. That's what kicked off the indie game revolution, was that late 2000s slump that D&D dominated all throughout the 2000s, and they fumbled a little bit. The problem was, again, like the 90s, nobody could capitalize off of it, because instead of trying something new and being more willing to be let's go big, let's try to overtake D&D right now, let's go, let's do it, people were let's capitalize off D&D's corpse. That's when you got things like Pathfinder, the OSR. It was, hey kids, you want to play D&D some more, right? Yeah, we want to play D&D some more. So they did, and that's what you gave. That's what the industry gave them. They gave them what they wanted, which was more D&D, rather than saying they just want to play a good game. Let's give them a good game. And even a lot of those games that came out during that time, Pathfinder's still going strong, even though not as strong as it was by far. Oh, and then you also have games like Savage Worlds. Savage Worlds is a pretty damn consistent game that has done pretty good for itself. A lot of those games did pretty good for themselves. A lot of them didn't make it, and you also had things like The Forge, which was a mistake. But in 2024, we will see whether or not 5.5 edition fails. My theory is this. This is my guesstimation. If we'll say mid-20, my estimation is this: if 5.5 does well, and pretty much it signals to the company, it signals to everybody that there is a top dog on campus. Effectively, there is the one who, this is the one who knocks. This is the one that is D&D 1, effectively. If 5.5 does well, D&D 1, and we will see a split. My thinking is we'll see a split between what I'm going to call corporate games and hobby games. There will be a distinct split in how things are conducted. Corporate games will be things like Modiphius, Savage World, these will be company games, simply because D&D, no one can compete with D&D. Everyone already lost. Hobby games are going to be a lot more experimental, a lot more weird, but I don't think being able to cross from a hobby gamer to a corporate gamer is going to be a lot harder than it is now. A lot harder. However, if 5.5 fails, I think we'll see another crash. I think we will see a very major shakeup of things, and people are going to start looking at it and being oh, it's awful, oh, it's great, oh my god, we did it, it is everything we could ever want. And we're going to see the rise of a few games, the death of a few others. It's going to be kind of like that in a way. We're going to see a lot of difference. If it dies, we all benefit. However, if it succeeds, we don't. We've lost. So, yeah. Will there be another 6D Star Wars? No. Well, yeah, I think so, actually. Honestly, if the Marvel, here's the thing, Marvel TTRPG. If the Marvel TTRPG, if Marvel Multiverse or whatever does well, and people buy it, and people play it, and people enjoy it, and people are doing stuff about it, I'm fairly confident that it'll go pretty, like, we'll see a Star Wars game. Not because, like, Star Wars is cool and stuff, but just like, hey, you want to play a new Star Wars game? Like, who owns, like, who owns Star Wars TTRPG license? So technically, 2020, the discontinuing tabletop game line, parent company Asmodee moved Star Wars role-playing game license to a new imprint, Edge Entertainment. So Asmodee still has the rights to Star Wars. Yeah, this is the, these are the guys who are now going to be managing Star Wars, who are owned by Asmodee. Which sounds like they're just going to be doing reprinting stuff. Rokugan, Midnight, Star Wars RPG. Oh, okay. So I know what happened here. Fantasy Flight, all of Fantasy Flight's game stuff went to this company. Do we have any information on them? Genesis, Adventures in Rokugan, Star Wars, End of the World. Yeah. If you ever want to see corporatism at its finest, right here. This is what it is. Corporate. Around the world, develop and release new games. An RPG studio. Asmodee. Yeah, studio with the Asmodee Group. We create universes. They've created literally no universe by themselves. Everything has been taken from another company. Like, let's see. Yeah, they're in France. Yeah. Yeah, Edge Studios RPG manager Sam Gregor Stewart, former lead developer of Star Wars of the Empire, hinted at the possibility of a new Star Wars role-playing system. Yeah. Despite indication that it was working, yeah, no, it's going... So to answer your question, no. I don't think we're going to see a new Star Wars RPG in a while. My thinking is that if Marvel does well, we might see something out of it because people are going to want to capitalize off on it. However, the D616 system kind of sucks in its own way. So kind of bear that in mind. Yeah, we're not going to see a Star Wars game anytime soon. I hate to break it to everybody. But as we get back to our regular scheduled program, what do you think of the system, though? What do I think of 6D Star Wars, or what do I think of Edge of the Empire? Or D6? I like Open D6. I think it's a good system. Genesis, or Edge of the Empire, which would become Genesis. I've never looked at Genesis. I've never touched Genesis. I can't get over the dice. That's one of my big things. Star Wars D6, yeah, it was good. It became Open D6, and because it was done by West End Games, and it was very good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I think it's a very good system. It's a little swingy. Don't get me wrong. Do not ever get me wrong on that one. Like, it's a very, very swingy game. And if you accept the fact that it is a swingy nightmare game, then you're going to enjoy it a lot more. Here we go. Let's see. Wanted to emulate sheer madness of the proposed system of everybody is John, but everyone's playing their own John. It's a 2d6 game. For example, we're making a bad cop. The skills are instead tied directly to your mental state and other issues. You need everyone in play to contribute building your perfect fuck up. He's choosing for himself, offbeat cop. It's the core of his character. He's weird, but he knows and embraces it. Mental gymnast. Flex his bizarre and off-the-wall explanation for 90% of the time bullshit. Deadbeat dad, which gives those fatherly woes of being a terrible father. Skill comes in with 6d6, and internalize new aspect of yourself when you level up. Or dumbass cops internalizes unioneer when he's involved with unions. Deadbeat dad, the father of failures, which gives him more leeway. Have things manifest directly as stated above. You have 3 to 4 oddballs trying to navigate a city in mist. No, fuck no. It's something, yeah. Let's see. Gun to head, GM would make calls, thing core action would come to play. For example, I need to make a psych check to convince the kid, give me information. It'd be 2d6 plus psych. However, since I have deadbeat dad, I get a plus 1d6 checks because I'm dealing with kids and I'm an asshole. If you want to get wacky, you can employ better angels method of actually talking players create the aspect. I would get the kid to help out, but hey, you can't fuck it up more. Skill would be an odd duck to run, but it'd be possible. Let's see. Anything I can work with here. Everyone is running their own John. Yeah, in case you're wondering, this is me. I wrote this because I kind of was just like an off-the-wall thing in the top of my head. So, I'm just gonna post this right here, so I can reference it. I was lucky I got it on like the first go. So the Disco Elysium RPG. Because one of the big things about Disco Elysium is ultimately a game about finding yourself because you're a fucking loser. Is there a possibility of a little opinion at least? Maybe. I mean, it's hard to go over games like Star Wars D6 because it's Star Wars, it's also D6. Do you like Star Wars and do you like the D6 system? You will like this. Though, honestly, if I were to do a Star Wars game, I would probably try to do like things like Edge of the Empire, being like, this is my opinion on Edge of the Empire. It's probably wrong, but I'm not a fan of Genesis. I'm not a fan of it, kind of like what it is. 2d6 OSR or 20 OSR? What do you... 2d6 OSR? I've never heard of that one before. I guess D20 OSR? I guess? Never heard of a 2d6 OSR before. That's a new one. So, Disco Elysium will do the most basic idea would be group of fuck-ups try to piece together a mystery. So the entire idea would be, because, fun fact, Disco Elysium is a 2D... Disco Elysium is a 2d6 system. Anytime you need to make a check in Disco Elysium, you roll 2d6. Let's see, systematic score, but your skills are instead. But with with a system, which luckily, if we really look at Disco Elysium stats, attributes and skills. Yeah, these are your basic stats. Intellect, psych, physique, motorics. Or in a more simple looking things, smarts, keeping your shit together, strength, dexterity. Not exactly a complicated game. Does not need to be complicated, though. That is fine. Always remember two very, very important things. Is that intellect, psych, physique, motorics. I'm gonna have to remember a lot of these, but I believe these only go up to I believe 5. Because most checks at the end of the day are going to end up being a It is effectively a 2d6 plus attribute plus skill. That is what 99% of the actual checks are going to boil down to in Disco Elysium. However, this is where things get a little bit wonky. They kind of are, but kind of aren't at the same time. Because as you can see, your attributes govern kind of like what your basics would be. If like we do here, you can kind of see all the various skills that you can learn. Because you only have 2, all your skills here are 2. However, you can actually edit your skills very slightly and increase them and decrease them. Hence why, like, all the skills, yeah. Let's see, a signature skill selected at start receive +1 spending skill points, and total time they can be increased affected by the base attributes that were chosen. So yeah, as you can see, difficulty trivia, total points, required skill level. As you can kind of see, various roles here. So cool. If you want to be purist about it, I mean, if you want to be like really pure about things, you would just take it would just be skills from the game. However, if you want to maintain more of the spirit of the game at that point, what you would need to do is kind of something like this. Or direct mental state. If you want to nail the perfect feeling, you need a player to contribute. If you want to, perfect fuck up. So it's kind of like more along the lines of like your skills equal your personality. It's something more about you than anything else. Yeah, no, the range banding happens to everybody at least once. It happens. But yeah, it's kind of like there's a few different ideas, like skills being your personality and skills being from the game. These are kind of mutually exclusive because a lot of the skills from Disco Elysium, not Necklace OSSR, skills Disco Elysium. Because a lot of the skills from Disco Elysium are very much tied to Harry's way of looking at things. Harry, for those who don't know, is the protagonist of Disco Elysium. As you can kind of see it all here. These are aspects of him. And technically, in the game, all of them talk to you at various steps. All of them operate in different ways. Personally, my favorite is Encyclopedia, because Encyclopedia will give you random information that is completely fucking useless to the situation at hand. And they even say, like, increasing the skills too high will give them more control over you. I know, for example, like, Endurance is a dick. Like, he hates it because he's strong and he's stronger than you. And the entire idea behind Endurance is that he is a fascist. He is hardcore, he doesn't let anybody hurt him, but he doesn't want to be hurt. Nobody can hurt me except me. That's Endurance's philosophy. And sometimes you end up getting checks later on, which are more like reverse checks, being like you're too good at something. Like Endurance is too high, you're going to succeed at the check, and you're going to get whatever Endurance wants to talk about. But you also get things like, I'm trying to remember all of them. Electrochemistry is weird. Conceptualization is very, very strange. Authority is just a dick to everybody, but authority is also the one that you should rely on sometimes. Like, it's kind of hard to get like a good idea behind for like skills or anything for a game like this, because it's very personal to Harry, the actual protagonist of the game. That's why I'm thinking, like, if skills equal your personality, you need to use this in a way. So it's more along the lines of like your skills are not necessarily, how do I want to word this? Your skills aren't necessarily yours. They're more like more things about who you are, that's where things get a little bit wonky. Generally speaking, I don't really want to even like approach a game like this right away, because I just need to like hammer. I need to hammer home Disco Elysium perfectly to get it just right. I have a few ideas of how to do it, but it's a very... To give you an idea, I would want to get Soul Survivors done before I touch Disco Elysium. I'll just say that. Let's see, where are we? Ah, yes. Yandere Simulator game. Yes, Yandere Simulator. Our favorite man alive, Alex. We all like Alex, right? I like Alex. I think Yandere Dev is a fascinating human being. This is Yandere Dev. This is Alex. Alex is a sad creature. We all we look at Alex and realize Alex is a very strange man. Who wants to be anime. I think that's the best way to think about this guy. This is a man who desperately wants to become anime. For all the wrong reasons. Let's see, does he still? Let's see, still making videos? Yeah, the Yandere Christmas song again. 9 months, the announcement trailer, everything about 1980s mode. The thing is, it's not like this guy isn't raking in views or anything like that. Like 1.2 million, 1.7 million, 1.2 million, 2.77 million subscribers. Like, this guy's still like raking in money. You know, people meme on Yandere Simulator quite a bit, but he's still making money. This guy still makes $1,600 a month doing this fucking shit for how many years? Let me see. I don't know if I can find like the Patreon trends. Raftreon, yes, hello. Show me the Yandere Dev. I need him. Yes, Yandere Dev, I need him. As you can see, wait, what the fuck happened? What the fuck happened here? What in the goddamn happened? As you can see, he's been slowly falling down. Like, if you go over a year, at his absolute peak, this guy was making about $5,500 a month. He is down to about $1,600 a month, and he is making infinitely more than fucking me. This guy was actually pretty on the up and up for a very long time. Let's just do like the past month. He has lost not 9 patrons. No, he lost 50 patrons somewhere along the lines of right here to here. Like, that's really fascinating. He lost about... Actually, I guess it's not that much. He only lost about $70. But yeah, like, as you can tell, like, the numbers have dropped quite a bit. So I'm perpetually fascinated by Yandere Dev for a variety of reasons. I'll go over it in a second here. Let's see. Bell curves rolls versus flat chance rolls. I like bell curves. Bell curves give random chance a little bit more to work with. I've been following Yandere Simulator since it like got announced. I remember I was on fucking A of all things when they were talking about it. Remember when it first came out? I remember when it first came out. I was perpetually fascinated by it because it was like, oh, this seems kind of like a neat idea. I was a child then. It was 2014 is when he launched this, so probably around 2013. Let's be honest. Let's be generous with ourselves. Let's say mid 2014 is when Yandere Simulator really began to be Yandere Simulator. That would be. Let's see. I would be, if I'm 25 right now, I would be 2014. I would have been 16. No, I'd be 15. Yeah, I would have been 15, roughly, at that point. Because, yeah, no, I would be 15, because that's when I graduated. Like, yeah, this man has been plugging away for past 8 years. we're talking about Yandere Simulator, okay? And the fact that Yandere Dev has lost a shit ton of money over the years, because I'm fascinated by Yandere Dev, because I find him an interesting human being. Because it's one of those things that you can just make yourself so unlikable over time that you've just completely crash every piece of goodwill that you've ever had. It's amazing. It is really amazing of how one man can fuck literally everything up by just being incompetent. And it's not even like a funny incompetent, it's a sad incompetent now. It's a sad incompetence. Like, has he updated the website at all? No, he hasn't. Still suspiciously young anime girls. Still very odd. What was the... Still offering volunteers. Like, it's one of those things with good old... Wait, there's a... Oh, he finally added the female option. Yep, he's got all the why are there so many characters? What the fuck? What in the goddamn is going on? What the fuck? Who the fuck is wife? Who the fuck are all these characters? Who the fuck are any of you? That's a child right there. What the fuck? If I click on one of these, am I gonna get something bad gonna pop up? Like you, my main mat head. Oh, because he has to. They have to worry about like the 85 edition. What the fuck? That's... What? What? The fuck? Where the fuck did any of this come from? Like, what the fuck? Now I'm just fascinated. Now, I hope you all know that I'm just fascinated now. The fuck are you? What the fuck? What? Who are you? Okay, you're the counselor. Remember that. Okay, hello, policeman. What's with all this lore? Why is any of this here? Why is this here? Why is there so much lore? Wick negative 10,040. What? Who the fuck are any... Okay, this is the 1980s mode, right? What the fuck? Hi, Midori. Who the f... No. Stop looking. My eyes bleed. Do you think Yandere Dev will finish before or after the heat death of the universe? Here's the thing. If Yandere Simulator ever ends, Alex will kill himself. I mean this in the nicest way physically possible. The second Yandere Simulator is done, Alex will kill himself. Because I don't think he has literally anything else. He has added so much time. He has added so much effort. It has been blood, sweat, and tears. He has burned more bridges and he has alienated so many people for this disaster of a fucking project. And that's what it's been. It's been a disaster for a project. Is that he can't finish it, because I think he knows he can't finish it. Because he can't put this on like a resume or something. That's like one of the big things. Like you can't put like, hey, I had this incredibly successful game. People really liked it. I did it by myself. Here's all these cool things. Because the second anybody finds out about it, it's going to be like, holy shit, what the fuck? Trust me, people from like Tiny Build, they know. Trust me, people from Tiny Build know. And they talk to people. There's probably nobody in the video game industry is going to fucking touch him with a 10-foot pole at best. And that's, I think, one of the big things with Yandere Simulator, is that it's kind of graduated beyond a simple, oh, well, I'm just going to work on it. And this is, it's graduated beyond a passion project into like an obsession project. But he knows too, like it's, the second Yandere Simulator is done, Alex doesn't mean anything anymore. And I don't think Alex likes that. And I think that's why he streams. I think that's why we have the photorealistic toothbrush. I think that's why we have so much shit like that. Because I think under a competent development team, if we would go back in time, let's say we go back in time, 2014, Yandere Simulator has been announced, and it's Alex and about 4 other guys, and Alex is, yeah, he's a mid-range, not a good developer. It doesn't need to be a good developer. He's a passionate one. But he's got a good small team of people, and he says, okay, this is the goal, this is how we're going to do it. It would have probably been done in 2016, maybe 2017. And if it did well, if you worked with Tiny Build, it would probably be, we'd be seeing Yandere Simulator 2 coming out here soon. You know, people would be bitching and moaning that the modding scene of Yandere Simulator isn't as good as it used to be. Or like, man, I can't wait till number 3 comes out or whatever. That'd be what people would be talking about. But because Alex is a weird person, it was just a disaster. It was kind of doomed from the start. That's why I've been perpetually fascinated in it, though. And I make it a point to follow bits and pieces, any big news. I've watched many things on Alex and his adventure, let's just say. And all I could do is, I feel bad for the dude. You know, and this is from one creator to another. A guy who has done a lot of creating and stuff like that. I feel bad for the dude, because I think he knows, and I think other people know, that there really isn't a... if Yandere Simulator comes out, I think it'll do mid. Because it's a weird Unity game, and I don't think it's going to do too hot, even if it does come out, because it's going to be a bloated mess. It's going to be an 8 gigabyte file that barely runs. It's going to be a disaster area. However, I don't think that it'll actually sell well. And the second it gets released, he's no longer the special one. I think that's the big thing about it. Because we even got proved, what was that one? Let's see, what was the Yandere Simulator-like games? What was it? It was, there were a few games. I remember that, just like over time. There was one game that came out that everybody was like, oh, wait a second, this is exactly what... where was it? It was Yandere Simulator. Like, that was a big thing. It was Yandere Simulator, but it was like a completely different game. It with a different name. It was like Heartfelt Love or something. I can't even remember what it fucking was. but it was like proved in like 2 weeks. Like he got the entire thing what he did in like 4 years. And I thought that was kind of interesting. There's a few attempts, but as someone pointed out, like everybody who worked on one was proven to be kind of a weird dude. And Alex by himself is already a weird fucker. He's a weird fucking dude. But let's see, Yandere sim game. So the entire idea would be, let's see, school romantic comedy with a hint of darkness. But here's the thing: it doesn't necessarily need to be an RPG. Like my original idea for this game, and like I've had this idea in like the back of my head for a while, and it was literally because like it was because of that original game that came out, being it's like, oh, you know, he did this in 4 months, and I drafted this idea up, but the idea was like picture this as a board or something, and you know you have various, you know, the various sections of the school. I can fucking draw a square here. Like you got the various sections of the school, you got the little hallways here. Do you like my drawings, everybody? Welcome to Notepad Draws on. It's kind of like, you know, kind of give you like a very basic idea of like here's the school ground, like here's the school board or whatever. And the entire idea was at the start of every day, Senpai is going to be in an area, and you're going to be like right here. Yeah, everyone's going to kind of start by coming in. Senpai is going to be in an area. The goal is eventually reach Senpai. However, there's something that goes on today. It's Valentine's Day or whatever, so you need to get chocolate. How are you going to get chocolate? Well, we're going to have to go here. Or we're going to have to go here. You know, it's kind of like it was a very big, long, convoluted game with the intent of you need to get the build affection. What was the, you know, build affection with this fictional person? School life. Was that it? Was that the game? Was that it? That looks like a hentai game. That, my friend, is a game for pornography. Jesus. God, I love them. I love iOS shit. There's another one. No creator should ever be defined by a single project. Yeah, I think that's Alex's biggest sin, I think. And one he created himself, unfortunately. I think that's kind of like the biggest issue. Because like my big 3 ideas here for Yandere Simulator game, TM, was either A, we go full board game, which is more along the lines of, you know, a resource which is more like a resource management game. Oh, resource management with a bit of hidden role in it. With the idea being that, like, let's say this is our little character card, and it's like, oh no, I am kawaii anime girl. Look at me, I am kawaii anime girl. I am smiling, I am happy. Here is me in my skirt. I am doing my little happy dance for some, I don't know what this is. I'm terrible at art. And like, here's my little special ability. Here's like the thing that makes me special. Surprise! Oh no, this is me, crazy anime girl. You know, if something goes wrong, I'm angry. That's orange. I'm not colorblind, I swear. That's purple. Do I not have like a red? I just need a red color. There we go. Look, she's angry now. I'll get her little skirt in, and she has a knife. That's a terrible knife. There we go. And she has a knife. There we go. And as she's crazy, she gets different ability, and she has a different thing. The idea being like you're always trying to stop yourself from going insane, but if you do go insane, you have a different win condition. That was kind of one idea, but like just strictly stick with board game shit and board game ideas. The other idea was just lead into like a full-on hit and roll game. That would be its own idea. Like, if you want to be perfectly frank, like an actual RPG with this, I don't think would do very well. But like the other idea was like a cart, like kind of like a, I'd say straight hit and roll game, you know, which is more like you know, fairly traditional hit and roll game. Because someone did recommend on things Notepad Anon wants to do, which was a hit and roll game. Somebody wanted a hit and roll game. I'm like, fuck it, let's see what we can do with that. Yeah, serial murder hit and roll nightmare. Like, I have a few ideas, and those few ideas aren't very good. That's why I say it's like, at the end of the day, like, this concept is actually kind of difficult to adapt to like a tabletop game straight out. Unless I do something like, again, it's like Yandere Sim, you know, Yandere Sim, the board game, in which it's more along the idea of collect resources to complete objectives, complete objectives to get hearts. And like, let's see, we'll do only a set number of objectives per day. If failed, a girl gets a madness point. Too much madness, we'll do new win, which is unique win condition. Because I like unique win condition. Unique win condition for each girl, but can change to the Yandere mode to fucking stab you. Now, if I wanted to be a little bit more focused, I could do the Psycho no Sotoka game. I like Psycho no Sotoka, by the way. That's a very good little indie game. If you really like, this is Psycho no Sotoka. I like this game quite a bit. It's a Yandere. Like, here's the thing. It's a Yandere game where a girl is rushing at you with a knife, and you're trying to find a key. It's a very simple game, very basic. But here's the thing. I like the fact that it's very basic, and the way Psycho here, get it? The way she acts is interesting, because she fucks with you. That's kind of the entire idea, is that she fucks with you quite a bit, and the things she does changes how you operate, which I like quite a bit. I like that aspect of this particular game. So if I were to do something like that, probably more of like a Psycho no Sotoka game, which is kind of like I would say a quote competitive murder simulator. Yeah, more of like a competitive murder simulator, which I find fascinating. Oh fuck, what was that one game? Oh, it's my fascination game. The game that they will never adapt to. The game that they will never adapt to. No, that's not it. No, that's not it. There was a Japanese board game. I'm gonna see if I can find it. Japanese. Okay, this is what's gonna ban it. Japanese card game. Guro. Japanese card game Guro. What was the fucking What was the one game that was just a weird Guro game? That's definitely not it. What the fuck? Okay, well, no, we're not going to look at that one. That's Postmortem Studio. It's a card game. I know that much. Wait 1 second. I'm gonna open a private window just because it's the anime Guro card game about killing a Gyaru. Yes, I am a perfectly functional human being, but I need to know what the fuck this game is. Because every now and again, it comes across my mind's eye, and I find it, and I always like, oh yeah, I forgot this game. This game exists. Japanese Japanese board game about kidnapping and killing a girl. What is this fucking game? Oh god, I don't want any of this. You don't understand, it's a fucking board game. It is a board game. It's a weird fucking... Nope, it's not that. What is it? It gets posted every now and again, and I remember it, and then I forget it every fucking time. Because it has a terrible fucking name. I remember that distinctly. It has a terrible fucking name. What is it? It's gonna drive me fucking insane. But for context sakes, there's this, effectively a Japanese card game, I guess you would call it, which is literally about pushing your luck to chop this girl apart, effectively. And you go until she dies, effectively. And it's this horrific game. Absolutely horrific. I am fascinated by it, though. Absolutely fascinated by it. Honestly, something like that for here wouldn't be remiss either. So that's my thinking there. I have a few ideas. Do I want to do the Spar shit post? No, it's very late and I'm very tired. I've been streaming for like an hour and a half, so I think I'm just gonna go to sleep now. Actually, no, I can't go to sleep. I gotta do the fucking game tomorrow. So I'm gonna call it there forever right now. So thank you all for watching. My name is Notepad Anon, and I'm gonna try to find that game because it's gonna drive me insane until I find it. So thank you all, and have a wonderful rest of your night. I'm very tired. Goodbye.